Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rolling Stories. I'm your host, Adrian Tan, and today we'll be talking about HR technology. Now, creating internal talent marketplaces, getting more value out of your current system, enabling hybrid work, and leveraging AI are all of many of these focus areas that HR technology is looking at. Now, while economy may bring uncertainties, this HR technology can help HR to navigate challenges like attraction, retention, skills development, and many others. With the world of work rapidly changing and HR leaders relying on technology now more than ever to help their organization adapt and thrive, we really want to understand from the experts themselves on how to make the best of the situation, which is why on today's show, we'll be speaking with Poon Lye Yee about HR technology. Lye Yee, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adrian. Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. For the benefit of our audience who may not be familiar with yourself, could you do a quick introduction about your background and how you came to where you're doing right now?
I've been in HR technology, primarily supporting and also implementing HR technology for the last maybe more than a decade. Recent years, I'm also working on RPA and also data warehouses in the HR space. I was also heading shared services in my previous job. And during that space, I'm working on global payroll, policy, governance, and operations are also rolling under me. So this gives me a different perspective of into HR technology.
So we have spoken about HR technology many different times on over various episodes on the show. So I would imagine most of our audience would already know some of the basic fundamental stuff. So with your experience in the deep end of the pool on HR technology or people technology, I think we can jump straight into some of the more nitty-gritty details on HR tech itself. So I'd like to go straight in and like to understand for organization that implements HR technology, which you probably have seen so many of them over your experience. What are some of the common challenges and pitfalls that, especially for first timer, they may tend to overlook and may not have forecasted at the get go?
I think through my years of doing this, I see a lot of when we roll out technology is at the end of the day, the users do tell us that the business requirements are evolving and whatever we have rolled out didn't really enable to help them. So a lot of this like scope creep do happen during the implementation. And usually the users will say that, oh, this is, we do not know what we don't know. And then on the other end, when we have the consultant here to help us is they didn't explain to the users what are the system like, or they cannot envision the system. So these are typically what I see when we were rolling out the system. But in the recent years, we have moved on to from SDLC way of delivering projects, right? We were doing previously was more waterfall. So right now, the recent cloud systems that we have been rolling out, we will more on the agile or hybrid model, where after each iteration, we actually show the users what they are getting. And this, I think, I felt it helps them because they can vision what are the system and how the processes will help them. And if there's any feedback or gaps, they can actually give the feedback to the implementers, and it helps to close the gap. As in, the users have this expectation in their mind that the system can do these things, but the consultant probably is telling them something else, but they couldn't vision how it looks like. So by having that iteration and presenting the solution back to the users timely, it helps to close the gap in that. So this is quite common. The other one was really driving user adoption, right? Also, I guess could boil down to the fact that maybe the users only get to see the system right at the end. So only during UAT then they realize, oh, the system is like that. Then how do our process works, right? The user adoption may be a problem because then the solution that was wired for them didn't really resolve their needs or meet their requirements. I think user adoption, if no users were to use the system or they couldn't embrace the new ways of doing things, basically the system become an wire elephant. And many a times it became just a database to capture, very expensive database to capture data. And it really didn't help the organization or the people to move on to the new process. Yeah.
Like some people will call it a very fanciful Excel sheet. Lah.
Yes.
So I've been hearing this for quite some time. And I think the approach of having regular mockups Mockups, in a sense, definitely would help the users to envision and to visualize how the end product may look like. Unlike you putting in an order upfront and at the end of the day, why you give me this is entirely different. It's like sometimes you go to a restaurant, right? You order something thinking that you come out this way, but you come out that way. And that really destroy the entire experience. But touching on what you mentioned about the adoption aspect, maybe I can jump ahead to get your take on what are some of the best practices or tips for managing the change and adoption process of HR technology among your users, among your employees, as well as your stakeholders.
I think if I were to start with, I will really want to understand what is the problem statement, right? So if the problem statement or the use case to resolve the problem is not clear, then we can buy a lot of fancy tools, but we may, at the end of the day, not able to solve any problem at all. So we have to help to crystallize where are the problem, what exactly they want the system to be able to do, right? So are they willing to make a change to the process, right? Are they going to buy a system to automate emails? What they are doing now, which is the email sending here, updating the database of the Excel, and then sending back the emails? Or do they have something in mind that they want it to be different, right? They first must be willing to change, right? So that's the first thing. And then what is the problem statement? What's the use case? So then we will be very clear of what is the business outcome. With that, we will then be able to share with them, okay, what are the possible solutions that can do this, right? To get the users involved in the entire evaluation process after we have identified the problem statement and business outcome is important because they are going to embrace the system or be the ambassador of the system at the end of the day, right? They're going to ask everybody to use it. So they themselves must be clear of what must be accountable or they must own the decision to buy that new tool. Okay.
Okay.
And thereafter, there's actually a lot of work in order to wire up big system, right? So there are time and commitment to keep the detailed requirements and to work with the implementers and people tech and HRS to set up the system, do the testing, and to also roll out the system and to train the trainer. Those are a lot of work. So if they are not completely committed to the solution or they are not sold to the idea of doing it a different way, then it's very hard to do adoption. So the process owner or the business owner of the new product or the new technology has to own it, has to embrace the solution first.
And for one of the things that we always constantly hear is when it comes to implementation or even suggestion of HR technology within organization, be it whether it's to align to performance or culture, etc., companies often find it quite hard to connect the dots to the bottom line or to the final outcome. So, based on your experience, how do you measure and communicate the impact and value of HR technology on your organization's performance and culture?
The business has got a business vision, right? And HR always will support the business vision from the people's perspective, right? For certain cultural or performance that we want to drive. So what kind of processes do we need to support in order to support that, right? And then in order to have the processes being more seamless or being able to make it more effective or efficient, then we will enable them through system, right? Then I would say that before we start, let's be very clear what is success means to the HR leaders, right? At the end of the day, after the system has rolled out, what is success to them? Then let's align on the goals, the timeline, and really what success means to them to identify what are the KPIs. So only when we have those things listed down, right, then nobody can say that, oh, after the system roll out and then we deliver XYZ features that actually it doesn't help anybody. And it actually is worse off than the previous system. I think the alignment and the expectation is key. Then once we have a very clear KPI, what we can do is always collect the data, analyze the data, and then we can always use that to report back on the
Mm.
progress, and then we got to monitor and track ongoing. I think first roll out, there will be a lot of challenges, teething issues is one, and also throughout the implementation process, there's bound to be times that we miss requirements, right? It's the nitty-gritty details, right? It takes one to be very mindful to be able to articulate it very clearly to the consultant. The details, a lot of people, devils is in the details, a lot of people may miss it. So it goes through rounds of probably backlogs that we need to enhance the system. At some point, the system stabilize and we will really be able to see the fruit or the meeting the KPIs. But it will have to give options or give the avenue for the users of the system to give feedback, and then take in the feedback and then continuously enhance and improve on the system.
So one of the things that many organizations focus on would be on learning and development, and specific to HR technology. How do you balance the human and technical aspect of HR and also fostering that culture of continuous learning and improvement with HR technology? Or to put it in another way, how have you seen HR technology improve or affected the way people are learning at the workplace or encouraging them to learn at the
I guess the HR technology today, as compared to the on-prem system, right? It is more agile in the sense that every couple of months there are new releases. So you don't have to wait for a major upgrade like in 2 years' time. And it's coming closer and getting closer to consumer grade kind of application or app. I think that helps because, and also COVID bring all of us, we can't really live without a device today. A lot of things are paperless and we are used to doing digital payment. So having the generation here, everybody using more digital savvy and tech savvy, adoption wise, I think is getting a lot better than in the past that we have to tell people why we need to digitize and why do we need to use the system. Today, I think we don't have to do a lot more convincing, but more of, well, is the system as good as the Facebook, the Instagram, or the Twitter that we use? And it helps when we have cloud system that is also giving releases in a very frequently and give more new things and improvements to the current system. And the speed to market is a lot faster than before.
So for our audience who may be looking at evaluating HR technology solution for their own organization, what are some of the tips and advice you would have for them on how to best evaluate and select the best suitable HR technology solution for their specific needs and goals?
For me, I always go back to the business problem that we are trying to resolve and what are the use cases. So, business problem statement, business outcome, we have to be very clear of it because there's really no silver bullet or one system that can solve all the problems that we have. So, it's always a 80-20 rule, right? So, that the management of the expectation, alignment of goals, and what we see as success is must be clear. Now, with that, we will be able to have a very clear idea of what kind of solution that we are looking for. So in the market, we'll do some market research on what is available in the market and what most companies in the similar interest industries are using. That will give us, we'll probably shortlist a few products for us to evaluate. With that, right? For me personally, I will look at the product roadmap software, whether the product releases, are they releasing fast enough, speed to market, how frequently do they release, and also how advanced are they in terms of the kind of features that they release to the market. For example, AI, generative AI, are they like already have it now? Or they have it in the roadmap, but they're gonna release it maybe 12 months down the road. So in a way, the former is a lot better, right? Even though they are ahead of the game, right?
Mhm.
Versus the other was probably a follower. Now, user experience is key because today we are so used to app tech. We will try not to have any product that is going to look very arcade or not user friendly. It's going to be hard for the users to adopt, even if you have a very good business case, right? It's ease of use, right? And then also the maintenance and the ease of implementation is something that as a tech person, right? Technology enabler, I will probably be looking at how easy and how quick we can launch this or we can enable this for the users to use. So if it's the waiting time, it's going to take a long time to deploy, or it's going to be very hard to find anybody who is able to maintain or deploy the system. So then even if I have the system, I may not be able to find people that can support it, right? The other aspect is probably agility and scalability of the solution, right? Business environment is evolving every day. Every day there's things and new changes. So how quickly can I enable new things into the system? Do I need to spend a lot of money? to make the change, or this is something that the product roadmap again, the product company is very advanced and is always ahead of the game. We just need to adopt. So that will definitely help us in that sense, because then it makes sense for us to go with the cloud solution, right? Then the post-sale service, I think, is key too. So if the post-sale service is good, then many a times there are companies who will just, after they sign a contract, they've completely forgotten about you. And then when you have implementation issue, they will also not be helping you a lot. But if the post-sale service is good, they will come in to help us to introduce new feature, tell us that the new features, how it's going to help us. It's definitely help in the entire post-implementation adoption, and also ongoing. We could have used more features from the same product. And of course, lastly, is affordability, right? So whether the software is affordable in the long run, and whether it makes sense and can build a reasonable business case or convincing business case, is definitely one of the consideration.
Thank you so much. And before we end, what are some of the emerging trends or innovation in HR technology that you are extremely excited about right now or curious to explore more?
For myself, I think the buzzword now is really AI, generative AI, right? Then in the HR space is a lot of talking about skills, competency, gaps, and predictive analytics. Personally, I'm very keen to look into, when we want to do analysis, and especially prescriptive or predictive analysis, we spend a lot of time preparing the data, gathering the data, cleaning the data. So how can AI the whole process to make it less painful? And yet we have something that is reasonably accurate. Is more looking into how we can use AI to help us gather all those information, analyze the data, and therefore give us prediction that we are looking for. So this is more of analytics and AI areas that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think it's a long time coming. For marketing field, Google Analytics has been there for decades and all the marketers have been enjoying it. But for the longest time, Google Analytics equivalent for HR department, still very primitive in many ways. I know companies are still looking at Excel sheets and all that. So hopefully there'll be certain things that HR department can look at to really maximize the kind of data that every one of us are already amassing within the organization. And with that, before we let you go, for people who may be keen to learn more about yourself, what you do, or maybe even hit you up for coffee, where can they find you?
They can definitely connect with me through LinkedIn.
All right, awesome. And with that, thank you so much for making time today. We've learned so much about your experience on HR technology, although definitely we did not give you the benefit of sharing more due to the condensation of this episode. But still, I hope that will give some people the idea of what to think about when it comes to their own HR technology journey and what they have to focus on. And hopefully, with your advice, also avoid some of the missteps. Thank you so much, Lai, for coming onto the show.
Thanks, Adrian.